Hey guys, tonight we're going to dim the lights and travel back in time. Not to ancient civilizations or the age of dinosaurs, but to a period so profoundly violent, so utterly chaotic, that it's a miracle anything stable, let alone life, emerged from it. We're going to delve into the brutal, fiery, and unimaginably turbulent genesis of our very own solar system. We're talking about the violent birth of our solar system. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's truly deafening, profoundly destructive, and ultimately profoundly unsettling journey together. So, welcome to the protoplanetary disk. Often romanticized as a neat, orderly swirl of gas and dust gracefully forming planets. But forget the gentle accretion and the comforting gravity. Forget the very notion of a beginning that makes immediate sense, or an environment hospitable to anything you might recognize as stable. Everything you know about calm formation, about quiet processes, about a predictable day and night, is utterly, fatally useless here. Here, tonight, we're going to peel back the layers of our solar system's infancy and settle into the unvarnished, profoundly uncomfortable truth. You see, the reality is, if you woke up tomorrow, right now, just as you are, exposed to the protoplanetary disk, you wouldn't survive a single millisecond. In fact, the searing temperatures, the crushing pressures, the constant bombardment, and the overwhelming radiation would claim you instantly. But let's imagine, for a moment, that you could somehow exist and observe this chaotic, early world. The true story of our solar system's birth is one of staggering violence, relentless collisions, and an unyielding, terrifying cosmic indifference. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you retuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights. Congratulations, you've just woken up suspended within a churning, glowing, utterly alien nebula some 4.6 billion years ago. The good news, you're alive, still for now. The bad news, you are utterly helpless. In the very matter around you is a landscape of constant cosmic torment, a primordial chaos actively hostile to any form of complex existence. The very first concept we must truly absorb tonight is that our solar system didn't begin with a whimper, but with a bang. Not the Big Bang, but a localized one. It began as a vast, cold, dark cloud of interstellar gas and dust, perhaps light years across. This molecular cloud was primarily hydrogen and helium, remnants from the Big Bang, along with heavier elements forged in the hearts of long-dead stars, ejected into space by supernova. It was a seemingly serene, mostly empty expanse. But somewhere in that vast, quiet cloud, something triggered a collapse. Perhaps a nearby supernova explosion sent shockwaves rippling through the cloud, or maybe just a random fluctuation in density. Whatever the cause, a small region of the cloud began to gravitationally collapse in on itself. As it collapsed, the material at the center became denser and denser, hotter and hotter. This rapid, silent, inward fall, driven by gravity, is the very first act of violence in our solar system's story. It wasn't a gentle gathering. It was a runaway implosion. As the core of the collapsing cloud grew hotter and denser, it also began to spin faster. This is due to the conservation of angular momentum, just like a spinning ice skater pulls their arms in to spin faster. This rapid rotation caused the cloud to flatten into a vast, rotating disk known as the protoplanetary disk. At its center, a dense, superheated protostar was forming, our sun, still years away from igniting nuclear fusion. The rest of the disk, extending outwards for billions of kilometers, was a chaotic, churning maelstrom of gas and dust, constantly colliding, accreting, and destroying itself. Now, imagine yourself within this protoplanetary disk. It's not the smooth, ethereal swirl you might envision from illustrations. It's a cosmic blender. Tiny dust grains, perhaps no larger than a micron, began to stick together. This was the initial, incredibly slow, and seemingly mundane process of accretion. Electrostatic forces, like static cling, made these tiny particles clump into larger ones. But even at this stage, it's far from peaceful. Over hundreds of thousands to a few million years. Some of these rocky fragments grew larger, forming planetesimals objects roughly a kilometer or so in size. These planetesimals were massive enough that their own gravity began to play a significant role. Instead of relying on static cling, they could now gravitationally attract other smaller rocks and dust, pulling them in with increasing force. This was the start of runaway accretion. As these dust bunnies grew into pebble-sized, then rock-sized objects, collisions became more common and more violent. They weren't gentle mergers. They were high-speed impacts. Imagine a cosmic demolition derby. Some collisions would cause objects to stick together, growing larger. Others would shatter them into smaller pieces, sending shrapnel flying through the disk. The raw materials of our planets were constantly being ground down, pulverized, and reformed in a perpetual cycle of destruction and creation. This turbulent environment was filled with violent shock waves, intense radiation from the forming sun, and the constant, silent patter of collisions. Over hundreds of thousands to a few million years. Some of these rocky fragments grew larger, forming planetesimals objects roughly a kilometer or so in size. These planetesimals were massive enough that their own gravity began to play a significant role. Instead of relying on static cling, they could now gravitationally attract other smaller rocks and dust, pulling them in with increasing force. This was the start of runaway accretion. As planetesimals grew, their gravitational pull became stronger, allowing them to sweep up material more efficiently, which in turn made them grow even faster, attracting even more material. This was a brutal competition. The largest planetesimals rapidly grew at the expense of their smaller neighbors, dominating their orbital zones. Imagine millions of these protoplanets, all jostling for position, constantly crashing into each other. The space within the disk was dense enough that collisions were inevitable, frequent, and devastating. Any object unlucky enough to cross the path of a rapidly growing planetesimal would be either absorbed or violently shattered. This process was deafening. If sound could travel in space, the constant impacts, the shearing forces, the immense pressures, they would generate unimaginable noise. But in the vacuum, it was all silent. Just endless, brutal, high-speed collisions, grinding down, building up, and sorting out the material that would eventually form our planets. Any life, any consciousness that might have tried to exist in this early solar system would have been instantly vaporized by the sheer energy of these impacts. It was a universe of silent, relentless demolition. The growth of the gas giants, particularly Jupiter, added another layer of unimaginable violence and chaos to the early solar system. Jupiter, forming relatively quickly, grew to immense size, its gravity dominating the inner regions of the protoplanetary disk. According to a model called the Grand Tack hypothesis, Jupiter didn't stay in one place. Its gravitational interactions with the disk material and Saturn caused it to migrate inwards towards the Sun, then reverse course and migrate outwards again. This Grand Tack was like a giant cosmic bowling ball plowing through the solar system. As Jupiter moved, its immense gravity scattered planetesimals and protoplanets like marbles. It would have flung countless icy bodies from the outer solar system inwards, and hurled rocky bodies from the inner solar system outwards, sending them careening into chaotic orbits. Many would have been ejected from the solar system entirely, becoming rogue objects drifting through interstellar space. Others would have been sent on collision courses with the nascent inner planets. This gravitational reshuffling by Jupiter was incredibly destructive. piece shaping the architecture of our solar system in a way that defied calm, orderly formation. Following the formation of the inner, rocky planets and the gas giants, there was another particularly violent period, known as the Late Heavy Bombardment. This occurred roughly 4.1 to 3.8 billion years ago, long after the planets had ostensibly formed. Evidence for this period comes from the heavily cratered surfaces of the Moon, Mercury, and Mars. During this time, the inner solar system was subjected to an intense barrage of asteroids and comets. The prevailing theory suggests that this bombardment was triggered by another shift in the orbits of the gas giants, primarily Uranus and Neptune's there. As their orbits slowly changed and settled, their gravitational influence destabilized the Kuiper belt and the Oort cloud, sending a massive wave of icy and rocky debris hurtling inwards towards the sun. Imagine a hailstorm of continent-sized rocks and ice constantly smashing into the young planets. Each impact would have released energy equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs, vaporizing vast sections of crust, creating immense lava flows, and stripping away nascent atmospheres. On Earth, this period would have been a hellish nightmare. Any early oceans would have been repeatedly boiled away into steam. Any fragile early life struggling to emerge would have been extinguished. The surface of the Earth would have been a molten, glowing inferno, constantly bombarded by silent, destructive impacts. It was a period of sustained, cataclysmic violence that almost sterilized our planet repeatedly, making the eventual emergence of life even more miraculous. Eventually, over hundreds of millions of years, the intensity of the late heavy bombardment subsided. The remaining debris was either swept up by planets ejected from the solar system, or settled into stable orbits in the asteroid belt and the Kuiper belt. The solar system, battered and scarred, finally entered a period of relative calm, allowing planetary surfaces to cool and oceans to form. This relative peace, however, was hard-won, built upon billions of years of silent, grinding destruction. The scars of this violent birth are still visible today. The Moon's heavily cratered face is a frozen testament to the late heavy bombardment. The tilt of Uranus and the retrograde rotation of Venus might be relics of immense early collisions. The very composition of the inner planet's dense and rocky is a result of the hotter, more energetic environment of the inner protoplanetary disk, where only heavier elements could condense, while the outer planets accrued lighter gases. The asteroid belt, far from being a neat collection of rocks, is a chaotic graveyard of planetesimals that never quite managed to coalesce into a full planet. Perhaps due to Jupiter's immense gravitational influence, our solar system, the place we call home, is a survivor. It's emerged from an initial gravitational collapse so powerful it would crush anything, through a cosmic blender of constant high-speed collisions, a chaotic grand tack that reshuffled its entire architecture, and a late heavy bombardment that hammered its young planets into submission. All of this unfolded in a profound silence of space. There were no roars of thunder from the crashing planetesimals, no screams from the vaporized crusts, no audible explosions from the immense impacts. Just the silent, relentless work of gravity and physics, sculpting our home out of chaos. On Earth, we are cushioned, protected by billions of years of cosmic evolution, by a vibrant atmosphere that carries both life-giving air and the comforting sounds of our world. We are accustomed to a stable, predictable planet, oblivious to the violent origins that shaped it. We perceive the universe as vast and beautiful, but rarely consider the immense, silent violence that was its very birth. The very ground beneath your feet, the very atoms in your body, are products of this ancient, brutal, and silent cosmic foundry. So while the idea of the violent birth of our solar system might seem like a mere astronomical fact, the reality is a brutal, unforgiving, testament to the raw power of gravity and the relentless, silent processes that forged our world from primordial chaos. It is a chilling reminder of how completely dependent we are on the fragile peace that settled after billions of years of cosmic warfare. As you drift off to sleep tonight, perhaps consider the incredible, impossible luck of waking up on a world with stable countenance, breathable air, and a tranquil night sky, all built upon the scars of an unimaginably violent, silent beginning. Good night.